Crime, Wine, and Chaos contains adult language and graphic content. Listener discretion is advised.
Okay. How can we sleep when our beds are burning, Chaos Kids? I'm Amber.
Holy shit. I'm Naomi.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Crime, Wine, and Chaos.
Yeah.
No,
tell me.
It's 2 on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
Amber, that was 2 on the nose.
Sorry. Is your bed burning?
No, but like the world is on fire.
For sure. So no sleep for us.
End stage capitalism and the inevitable consequences of man-made climate change are at our doorstep. So our beds are burning.
That's true.
Some beds are actually burning.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's a happy thought.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
sister. Hi, how are you?
Thank you. How are you? Good.
Look, I am going to say this is probably this move I have to do will be the most organized, methodical, well-planned adult move I have ever made in my entire life. And I'm kind of feeling myself on this one.
Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you excited about moving?
I have moved into excited about moving.
That's good.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes.
Good.
I'm ready for whatever's next.
That's awesome.
It's going to be amazing. And so I've got time still. I'm not rushing. And so, but I got some packing supplies and I've been packing up things that I can pack now and going through some stuff, making another get rid of pile. And I've been really into it.
Good. I love that.
It feels good.
Good.
Me too.
That's
Me too.
Awesome.
What's going on with you?
Oh, thank you for asking. I have a show tomorrow night, which will be like 3 weeks later when this airs. But what's going on with me is just getting ready for that, working on my songs and stuff. And just.
Didn't you guys play a front porch?
Yeah, we played Tacoma Porch Fest.
Yes, you never told me about how that was.
I did.
Did you?
It was awesome.
It sounded so cool.
Our host family was this elderly couple and they had sliced fruit and waters for us. And
that is so sweet. Oh my God.
Let us into their home to use the bathroom. And, they were awesome.
That's great.
They were so awesome.
That's great. And you also went and saw 9 Inch Nails when they came through town.
Oh my God. Okay, now I haven't.
You're not going to mention that?
Of course. That was a bucket list check off. That was incredible. That was not.
It wasn't a sit-down show.
No, we stood the whole time. But it was like such good vibes. Everybody was just like so happy to be there.
100%.
It was awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. What are you drinking today, sis?
Thank you for asking. I'm drinking a Rose Prosecco. It's actually the Costco, Kirkland Signature brand. It's pretty.
Kirkland Signature.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. We
All
got a review from your friend.
We did. Our friend Nick left us a novella.
Which is a word.
Of a review.
Which is a word.
Which is a word.
Fuck off.
He says, Nick the Mystic says, these ladies know how to do it! 5 stars. As a longtime watcher of true crime and an avid dreader of Sundays, Amber and Naomi have single-handedly changed Sunday to my fave day of the week with their intentionally compassionate yet silly and relatable storytelling. Their attention to detail while remaining respectful and empathetic when telling the stories of victims and their families is something I don't see often in true crime shows, as many tend to get lost in their goal of providing entertainment rather than ethical entertainment. These two truly know how to do it, and I'm so grateful for all the time and effort they put into the show each week for us listeners. Amber and Naomi, thank you both for your tireless work on this show and for remaining true to your humanity and ethics while doing so. And thanks for the weekly giggles. You guys never fail to make me cackle.
Oh, what a nice review.
What an amazing review. Glowing. That is what they call a glowing review.
Thank you so much, Nick the Mystic.
And I know Nick, and he means every word of it.
Awesome.
I love it. So cool.
Oh,
Okay, well, let's move on to a bummer. How's
that sounds
that?
good.
Great. I've got a crime for you. And you may have heard of this. You may know this one. I was only vaguely familiar with it. So
Okay.
again, this is why I didn't know I was going to end up writing a Mamma Jamma, because this went on and on. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about Marybeth Tinning.
Okay.
Marybeth Tinning was born Marybeth Rowe in Duanesburg, a small town in New York State, just east of Schenectady. I love the name of that town.
Schenectady? Jeez.
Schenectady. On September 11th, 1942. She and her younger brother both attended Duanesburg High School, and Marybeth was described as a typical student. Her father, Alton Rowe, worked as a press operator for General Electric, the largest employer in the area. It's reported that Marybeth attempted suicide several times in her youth. I saw that reported like in one place. She claimed that her father abused her, that he beat her and locked her in a closet. Later, she would say her father didn't have bad intentions, though. Quote, "My father hit me with a fly swatter because he had arthritis and his hands were not of much use. And when he locked me in my room, I guess he thought I deserved it."
What does arthritis have to do with hitting your child with a fly swatter?
Well, you can't hit him straight with the hand when you're...
Oh, I see.
know.
Okay.
Marybeth wanted to go to college after graduating high school, but it never happened. She worked a series of low-wage jobs over the next few years, described as unskilled jobs.
Okay. There's no such thing.
No such thing. That didn't have much of a future. Eventually, she became a nurse's aide at Ellis Hospital in Schenectady and was considered a decent employee. Marybeth was 5'4" tall with blue eyes, blonde hair, and a trim figure. She was pretty average looking, kept her hair short, and maintained a neat and proper appearance. Many of Marybeth's friends and family would say she was strange, never very happy or well adjusted. In 1963, she met Joe Tinning on a blind date with some friends. Joe was shy and kind and had never been in any kind of trouble. The two got along well enough and married in spring of 1965.
Oh, God, that all sounds so stale. Well, we get along well enough. Let's just get married.
Right?
Oh, God. All right.
It's this very like ho-hum, doldrum kind of life so far. This Marybeth is just... There's nothing remarkable about her.
Yeah.
You know?
Sad.
Yeah. Joe, like Marybeth's father, also worked for GE. He was described as quiet, not prone to outbursts of temper, and seemed to take life in stride.
Okay.
Marybeth and Joe were a pretty typical young married couple, blue-collar folks who worked hard, tried to make a decent living, and build a good life.
Okay.
In the first 5 years of their marriage, Marybeth and Joe had 2 children, Barbara and Joseph Jr. In October of 1971, Marybeth's dad died of a sudden heart attack, and in December that same year, Marybeth gave birth to her 3rd child, Jennifer.
Okay.
Jennifer was not well when she was born and stayed in the NICU for the next few weeks. She died on January 3rd, 1972, of a severe infection diagnosed as meningitis.
Oh.
After these 2 deaths so close together, Marybeth became distant and withdrawn. Only 17 days later, on January 20th, 1972, Marybeth took Joey, who was now 2 years old, to the Ellis Hospital emergency room in Schenectady. She told the doctors that he had some type of seizure. Joey was kept under observation for a bit, but the doctors couldn't find anything wrong with him. They told Marybeth he could go home as he appeared to be fine. Several hours later, Marybeth came back to the ER with Joey, and this time he was dead.
What?
She told the doctors that she had placed him in bed, and when she came back, he was tangled in the sheets and his body was blue.
What?
Joey's death was listed as unknown and no autopsy was performed. And then, barely 6 weeks later, Marybeth was back in the Ellis Hospital ER with her daughter Barbara, who was 4. Marybeth told the staff that Barbara had gone into convulsions. The doctor wanted to keep Barbara overnight to monitor her, but Marybeth insisted on taking her home. And just like with Joey, several hours later, she returned with Barbara, and now Barbara was unconscious.
You're giving me another mommy murderer.
Sometime later, Barbara died in a hospital bed, and the doctors had no idea why.
Oh my God.
Their best guess was a rare and, at the time, barely understood condition known as Reyes syndrome, which was suspected as the cause of Barbara's death, but it was never proven. Reyes syndrome is a serious condition that causes swelling in the liver and brain. It can occur at any age, but usually affects children and teenagers after a viral infection, most commonly the flu or chickenpox. Aspirin has also been linked with Reyes syndrome in children or teenagers who have the flu or chickenpox. In Reyes syndrome, a child's blood sugar usually drops while levels of ammonia and acidity in the blood rise. The liver also may swell and fats may build up. Swelling may occur in the brain. This can cause seizures, convulsions, or loss of consciousness.
Jeez.
Needless to say, those that knew the Tinnings were in utter shock that within a matter of 3 months, all 3 of their children had died.
Oh, shit.
Even if it was Reyes syndrome or sudden infant death syndrome, this was highly unusual. It was especially surprising in the case of Joey and Barbara because both children had been healthy and active kids.
Yeah.
Many assumed it must be something genetic. And because that was the prevailing theory, friends and family were even more surprised when the following year, Marybeth became pregnant with their 4th child.
No, Marybeth, no more children. What? Am I going to regret saying that?
Just wait.
Okay.
On Thanksgiving Day of 1973, Marybeth gave birth to Timothy, a small baby weighing just more than 5 pounds. Sebastian didn't weigh much more than 5 pounds.
I know. He was itty bitty.
He was so small. She took Timothy home 2 days later. On December 10th, just 3 weeks after Timothy was born, she brought him back to the same hospital. He was dead.
What the fuck?
She told doctors she found him lifeless in his crib. And again, doctors found nothing medically wrong. He seemed to be a normal, healthy baby. They listed his cause of death as SIDS. 2 years later, on March 30th, 1975, Easter Sunday, Marybeth gave birth to her 5th child, Nathan. A friend of Mary's would later say, quote, "I can still see his darling little face. His hair was so blonde, and with those big blue eyes and the smile, he was the most perfect specimen of a little baby boy. He was just beautiful."
Oh. Is there nobody? Okay, friend. Is there nobody in her life that's like, I
don't know
this is,
if
there's no way. There's no way that this is happening naturally.
Everybody thought it was genetics.
Okay.
On September 2nd, Nathan's only 5 months old, Marybeth arrived at St. Clair's Hospital holding Nathan in her arms. He was dead. She said she was driving. He was in the front seat of the car when she noticed he had stopped breathing. And again, there seemed to be no reason for Nathan to be dead. 5 of Marybeth's children had died, 4 of them while in her care, 4 of them seemingly healthy kids. In 1978, Marybeth and Joe decided to adopt.
Okay.
They went through with the process, and then in the midst of that, Marybeth got pregnant. They decided they would have the baby and move forward with the adoption as well. In August of 78, they received a little boy named Michael from the adoption agency, and 2 months later, on October 29th, Marybeth gave birth to her 6th baby, a girl they named Mary Frances.
Okay.
In January 1979, Marybeth was at St. Clair's emergency room again, which was directly across the street from the Tinnings' apartment. Mary Frances was unconscious in her arms, apparently from some type of seizure.
Okay.
Hospital staff was able to revive Mary Frances, and she seemed okay. A few weeks later, on February 20th, Marybeth came running into St. Clair's again. Once again, a lifeless Mary Frances cradled in her arms, only 4 months old. The baby was brain dead. The explanation was the same as all the other children before. Marybeth said she found the baby unconscious and had no idea what had happened to her.
This is fucking wild. All right. I hope I'm not eating my words. So far, nothing has happened to the adopted child.
So far.
Okay. Well, okay.
Marybeth was very quickly pregnant again, not long after Mary Frances's funeral, and gave birth to a 7th child on November 19th, 1979. She and Joe named him Jonathan. By this time, Michael was 13 months old and in good health. In March 1980, Marybeth showed up at St. Clair's with Jonathan, now maybe 4 months old, and he was unconscious.
This is wild. Are you kidding me? What?
Could I make this up?
What's her husband saying? What are people saying?
Nobody's saying anything except these poor people.
No, this doesn't happen this many times, and it's not. Okay.
So Jonathan is unconscious, and just like his deceased sister Mary Frances, the doctors were able to revive him. At this point, the family history was alarming. So Jonathan was sent to Boston Hospital, where he was examined thoroughly by the top pediatricians and experts available at the time. None of them could find any valid medical reason why the baby should simply stop breathing. Jonathan was sent home with Marybeth. And a few days later, she was back at St. Clair's. This time, Jonathan was brain dead, and he died March 24th, 1980.
Please tell me that was the last time this woman had a baby.
Just under a year later, on March 2nd, 1981, Marybeth showed up at her pediatrician's office with Michael, who was then 2.5 years old. He was wrapped in a blanket and unconscious. She told the doctor that she couldn't wake him that morning and had no clue what could possibly be wrong with him. When the doctor examined Michael, he found the toddler was already dead. An autopsy was performed this time, and they did find evidence of pneumonia, but not a severe enough case to have caused him to die. Obviously, because Michael was adopted, this put a wrench in the long suspected theory that there was something genetically wrong with the Tinning children. But everyone still was pretty perplexed. Some of the nurses did question Marybeth's actions that morning with Michael, though. She didn't walk him across the street to the emergency room at St. Clair's like she'd done previously with her other babies, but instead waited hours for the pediatrician's office to open, an office she had to drive to that wasn't right next to her house.
Just to throw her a bone just in case, if it's not genetic, is there something environmental in their home?
Maybe?
Because this is outrageous.
And even though none of it made sense, apparently no further investigation occurred beyond the autopsy.
You've got to be kidding me.
5 years later, on August 22nd, 1985, Marybeth, now 42 years old, gave birth for the 8th time to a baby girl named Tammy Lynn. A few months later, on the 19th of December of 1985, Marybeth and Joe's next-door neighbor, Cynthia Walter, who was a nurse, went shopping with Marybeth. And later, when they got back, she came into the apartment for a visit. She stayed for a few minutes and asked to hold 4-month-old Tammy, but very quickly, Marybeth wanted Cynthia to hand Tammy Lynn back. So Cynthia did and left to go home. Later that night, Cynthia received a frantic phone call from Marybeth telling her to get over to the Tinnings' apartment immediately. When Cynthia arrived, she found Tammy Lynn lying on a changing table and the baby wasn't moving. She was purple and Cynthia couldn't feel a pulse or any respiration. Tammy Lynn was not breathing. Cynthia couldn't determine what could be the cause of Tammy's lack of breath and pulse, and then EMS arrived. They quickly took Tammy to the hospital. When Cynthia asked Marybeth what had happened, she told Cynthia that Tammy Lynn was tangled in the blanket. Tammy Lynn was pronounced dead upon arrival at the hospital. There was no cause apparent to the ER staff, but since at this point they were all very familiar with Marybeth and all her dead children.
Mm-hmm.
They were immediately suspicious. Cynthia went to the Tinnings' apartment the next morning to check on them, expecting to find them devastated and grieving the loss of their 9th child, but she found them calmly eating breakfast. She told them to reach out if they needed anything. At Tammy Lynn's funeral, Marybeth had people over to her house for brunch, and she was smiling, eating, talking with everyone there, and didn't appear to be upset at all.
Well, she's used to this by now. I mean, the fuck?
9.
I know. I mean, I didn't say that seriously. I'm like, this is so disgusting and horrific.
It's insane.
It's like,
9
I've never
children.
heard of such a thing.
Marybeth's sister-in-law, who was married to Marybeth's brother, said that when she spoke with Marybeth just after Tammy died, that she didn't seem to be upset at all. They talked about Christmas plans, but Marybeth didn't even mention Tammy or her death. To the sister-in-law, Marybeth didn't seem the slightest bit bothered.
Whoa.
Hold on, sorry. The police did actually go to the Tinning residence to interview Marybeth. She said to the officer, quote, "I know what you're here for. You're going to arrest me and take me to jail." But the autopsy found no medical reason for the baby's death, and her cause was listed as SIDS. As for Joe, nothing seemed to bother him. Apparently, after each death, he would put on his funeral attire and dutifully go to the services at the same funeral parlor. He would sit quietly at the wake without complaining and rarely made conversation with anyone. He is quoted as saying one time, "There were things to make me suspicious, but you have to trust your wife. She has her things to do, and as long as she gets them done, you don't ask no questions."
Oh my God. Are you kidding me right now? This couple. Well, we seem to make sense together, so we'll just get married and have 9 kids and not really talk to each other. Sounds fun. Sounds fun.
So, sudden infant death syndrome was once responsible for thousands of infant deaths each year in the States, sometimes called crib death. SIDS was a condition that was not well understood in the 1970s, but since then there's been a lot of research poured into figuring it out. SIDS is a diagnosis of exclusion. That means a SIDS death is usually the conclusion once they've ruled out everything else. Doctors thought SIDS was respiratory related and the babies were probably dying from apnea, which basically means they just stop breathing. It typically happens to babies less than 1 year old, and 80% of them are between 2 and 4 months. Most experts do not believe that a baby will suffocate from being tangled up in blankets and sheets.
Oh, that's good to know.
It's called crib death because it happens when babies are alone. In fact, when they did research into this is me going off on a tangent, the respiratory stuff, there was speculation that the reason why it's safer to co-sleep for that particular thing is because that's how babies they feel and learn the rhythm of sleep breathing by being next to mom while she's also sleeping and breathing. Anyway, 3 of the Tinning babies were eventually diagnosed as SIDS deaths. This alone should have been cause for concern because having 2 or 3 SIDS deaths in one family is nearly impossible.
Yeah.
SIDS is not a genetic issue. 2 SIDS deaths in the same family is a statistical improbability. Dr. Michael Baden, former chief medical examiner of the city of New York, once said, quote, "About 3 babies in 1,000 die from crib death. The odds against 2 crib deaths in one family are enormous. The odds against 3 are astronomical." Over the years, several physicians investigated whatever the fuck was going on at the Tinnings house that led to 9 dead children. It could have been chalked up to something genetic until Michael died.
Right.
He was adopted. Marybeth and Joseph underwent a bunch of medical examinations over the years looking for a cause. This came up with 0 answers. Dr. Baden wrote, quote, "There is no known genetic disease that can cause sudden death in healthy children."
This is wild.
Ray's syndrome produces noticeable symptoms. Family and friends saw all the children shortly before they died, with the exception of Jennifer, who was born sick. The babies all seemed healthy.
Yeah.
The Schenectady police chief told the press, quote, "Just about everyone who came into contact with the family The hospital, doctors, social service workers was suspicious and communicated that suspicion to each other, many from the very beginning. But the problem wasn't that people weren't skeptical. The problem was that an exact cause of death for the babies could not be determined. Without a definitive ruling from the medical examiner's office, a unified effort to investigate from the police department couldn't happen. When the medical examiner of Schenectady was interviewed for a book on the case, he said, quote, "The main problem is that different persons or agencies knew about every one of these deaths, but there was no centralized collection of information. It was all of us together, and all of us failed." As journalists started digging into this unbelievable story, they spoke with neighbors of the Tinnings. One told the New York Times, quote, "I knew she had lost 5 children, and I had my suspicions, but who was I to point a finger?"
Well,
Marybeth seemed to always be pregnant. When her baby was born, she was often seen walking down the streets, pushing a stroller, chatting with neighbors, and fussing over the new baby. Another neighbor once told a reporter from the Albany Times-Union, quote, "When the last child was born, I asked myself, how long is this one going to last?"
that's awful. That is, I mean, I'd be asking the same thing.
9 kids.
I have no words.
After the death of Tammy Lynn, police investigators from several departments met in Albany to discuss the Tinning family history. The deaths of the 9 children, along with all the existing evidence in each case, were carefully reviewed, scrutinized, re-examined, and studied. Even with all this mountain of paperwork, which spanned 14 years and 9 dead children, the consensus was there still wasn't enough evidence for a successful prosecution. They decided that Marybeth needed to be interviewed again about Tammy Lynn. On the afternoon of February 4th, 1986, Schenectady detectives went to the Tinnings' home to ask Marybeth to come into the station and answer some questions.
Yeah.
Marybeth didn't have to go. She wasn't under arrest. They told her she really should come clear up suspicion about Tammy's death, though.
Oh, yeah.
Marybeth agreed, but later she would say she felt compelled. At the station, they read her rights, and she agreed to talk to investigators. At her trial, Marybeth denied she'd been read her Miranda rights, and she said police intimidated her. Marybeth told them about her life growing up in Duanesburg. She told them that she grieved over the deaths of each of her 9 children and adamantly denied having anything to do with any of their deaths. Marybeth said she assumed her children died from SIDS or genetic problems. Marybeth said that on the night of December 19th, 1985, she put Tammy Lynn to sleep in her crib like she normally did. Tammy Lynn was crying that night, which annoyed her because it made her feel like an unfit mother. She said she watched TV for a little while, alone. When she went back to check on the baby, that's when Marybeth discovered Tammy Lynn wasn't breathing. She said she picked up the baby and tried to revive her, but nothing worked. Then she woke up Joe and called for an ambulance.
Okay.
Police weren't buying it. It was too much like the other 7 deaths of the Tinning children, which all happened on Marybeth's watch. And SIDS deaths only happen when babies are alone. A baby does not die from SIDS in someone's arms. In fact, picking up a baby is the only known way to prevent a sudden infant death.
Well, that's wild.
In all the cases of the 8 out of 9 children that died, there were no other witnesses. Most of the facts about each death came from Marybeth. She told the initial story. She provided the details. She described the last moments of each child's life, and there was no one to challenge her version of events.
Fuck.
The interview with police went on for hours. The investigators asked questions about the deaths of all the children. Of course, this meant asking Marybeth to talk about events that went back over the span of 14 years, and her recollection of some of the circumstances didn't line up with what the police knew based on the documentation. But after so many deaths, it was plausible that she could be confused.
Of course, yeah.
When she talked about Joey, she said, quote, "He was taking a nap. It was close to his birthday, and he had taken a nap, slept unusually long. Unfortunately, I did not go in to check on him when I did, he appeared to be having respiratory problems of which I did not cause."
Of which I did not cause. That's a weird thing to say. Okay.
About Barbara, she said, quote, "Had a daughter. While we were sleeping, she called out to me and I went in and she was having a convulsion. I guess I don't even remember whether, I think maybe I don't remember whether we took her by ambulance or whether we took her, but anyway, we got there and they did whatever they did.
She's speaking of this in a very like matter of fact kind of, okay.
Asked about Mary Frances, Marybeth simply stated, quote, "There is really nothing to say other than I found her in her crib unresponsive. I believe Joe was there. I can't remember."
Okay.
Her statement on Michael was, "When I went in the morning to get him up and so we could go to the doctors, he was not, he was responsive to a point, but he was very limp and so on and so forth. And so instead of calling an ambulance, I went from our house, put him in the car, literally threw him in the car and went to St. Clair's. I went to Dr. Meal's office and went in there. And by the time one of the doctors, I guess, took me and they said that he died of viral pneumonia."
Mm-hmm.
Marybeth initially denied having anything to do with the deaths of any of her children, but after hours of interrogation, Marybeth gave in. She continued to insist she never hurt most of the children and said Tammy Lynn, Nathan, and Timothy were the exceptions. "I did not do anything to Jennifer, Joseph, Barbara, Michael, Mary Frances, Jonathan. Just these three, Timothy, Nathan, and Tammy. I smothered them each with a pillow because I'm not a good mother. I'm not a good mother because of the other children."
What? This is not making sense. This is not making any sense.
Nope. During the interrogation, police got in touch with Joe. He was at work and left to come down to the station. When Marybeth was allowed to meet with Joe, they had a brief conversation. Joe asked her to tell the truth, whatever it was. She started to cry while police stood nearby. After a few minutes, Marybeth admitted the murders to Joe. Joe would later say in court, quote, "After 5 or 10 minutes, Marybeth said, 'I killed Tammy,' very low. She had to repeat it." Joe had no reaction to this confession. Later, he would tell a reporter, quote, "I had withdrawn into myself. I was hearing, but I wasn't reacting."
This is the strangest couple.
So
this
weird.
is a very strange couple.
Investigators had also heard what Marybeth said to Joe. State police reports written on the day of the interview state, quote, "Joe Tinning also related the circumstances of the children's death generally and then reported that during the conversation with his wife that day at Loudonville, she admitted that she had killed their children and that now she is sorry." So police called in a stenographer, and while asking Marybeth questions, they put together a 36-page statement. Marybeth admitted to suffocating 3 of her children, but continued to insist that she had nothing to do with the deaths of the rest of her children. She said the night of Tammy Lynn's death, she was sleeping on the couch in the living room. Quote, "I was about to doze off when Tammy woke up and started to cry. I got up and went to her crib and tried to do something with her to get her to stop crying. I finally used the pillow from my bed and put it over her head. I held it until she stopped crying. Then she took the pillow and put it on the couch to convince Joe she had been sleeping the whole time. Quote, I screamed for Joe and he woke up. I told Joe Tammy wasn't breathing. I did do CPR, stupid as it sounds, but I knew that she wasn't alive anymore." Marybeth's reason for killing Tammy?
Mm-hmm.
Quote, "Because she was always crying and I couldn't do anything right."
Well, you could start by not having babies.
Let's
start
here.
there. And also, what is the point of admitting to just 3? It's so weird.
It's weird, right?
Yes.
At the end of the statement, Marybeth wrote, quote, "I did not do anything to Jennifer, Joseph, Barbara, Michael, Mary Frances, Jonathan, just these 3, Timothy, Nathan, and Tammy. I smothered them each with a pillow because I'm not a good mother, and I'm not a good mother because of the other children." After Marybeth was arrested, a lot of people in Schenectady were looking for people to blame. The story was national news by this point, and a New York Times reporter wrote, quote, "There were 6 autopsies, but never any signs of abuse. There were whispers and suspicions, but somehow no one, not the police, the coroner, doctors, social workers, or neighbors, not even Mrs. Tinning's husband, detected something evil in the strange pattern of deaths."
Which blows my mind.
It's wild.
How are we... It sounds like yeah. You said I
part
think
of the problem
at like death number 7, the hospital was like starting to get suspicious. I'm like, starting to get suspicious at 7? Like, what is everybody doing? Is everybody around there just fucking humdrumming like they are? Oh,
I don't
What?
know. Part of the problem in this investigation was a lack of communication between the medical examiner's office and the doctors who handled the deaths of the babies that were not autopsied. Some of the deaths, like Barbara in 1972 and Michael in 1981, had a valid cause listed on the death certificate. If a death is not ruled a homicide, then there is no crime.
No, I get that there's no crime, but
Right.
it's still. I'm sorry.
So the Schenectady police chief told the press, quote, "Everyone did their jobs, but when you have a legitimate cause of death, where do you go from there?"
Yeah.
And although some of the other children had died from unknown causes, the doctors just listed it as SIDS. Police had made some inquiries in those cases as well, but their investigations didn't lead anywhere. Marybeth was right after Marybeth was arrested, the bodies of 3 of the Tinning children were exhumed. They were transported to the medical examiner's office for testing. Marybeth's defense attorney told the press, quote, "My client was bothered, upset by them exhuming the bodies. He asked the court for a postponement on her appearance because, quote, she wouldn't be in the best condition to be in court." Ultimately, it didn't really matter because a mix-up about the location of the grave sites led to the wrong corpse being exhumed in one case, and the other 2 bodies were too decomposed for any kind of examination that would answer any questions.
They exhumed the wrong body. Wow.
Well, I mean, there were 9.
Okay, that's fair, I guess.
Fucked up, but
so
fair.
fucked up. So it was another one of her kids,
I'm
not
assuming.
some rando's kid.
I'm
I hope
assuming.
so. I'm surprised she didn't have them cremated.
Right? Joe Tinning told reporters, quote, "I wouldn't like them to do any more, but I guess that's their prerogative." One of the doctors that performed the autopsy on Tammy Lynn, I know.
What?
He's like,
He gives 0
"Thanks
fucks.
for noticing
I'll
me."
just
He
have
is
some
Eeyore.
thistle. Jesus, God, wake up, John.
Joe.
Or whatever.
One of the doctors that performed the autopsy on Tammy Lynn prepared a profile on Marybeth and Joe and described Joe as somewhat distant. Quote, "The father seems to have shown little curiosity in the circumstances of all these children's deaths. He has difficulty in remembering all their names."
Oh my God.
Marybeth Tinning was indicted on second-degree murder for the death of Tammy Lynn only. Police and the Schenectady County District Attorney's Office felt that it was the only death they had enough evidence for in a murder trial. Her admissions to investigators about smothering 3 of her children were crucial to their case and were the center of the pretrial hearings in December of '86 to determine if her statements would be admissible at trial. While the state presented witnesses that claimed Marybeth was calm and knew her rights and not coerced in any way, her testimony on the stand painted a different picture. She said, quote, "They were telling me what to say. A lot of time the police made a statement and then I just repeated it. These gentlemen were telling a story and I just repeated it." She said that the police yelled and threatened her, and any statements she may have made were because of intimidation. Quote, "I was just tired. I didn't want to go on. I knew what they were doing was wrong, but it would appear they had me in their clutches." She said that she resisted the suggestions of the police for hours, but finally broke down when they threatened to dig up the bodies of her children. Quote, "They said that if I did not tell the truth, they would take my kids out of their graves and rip them limb from limb."
Jesus Christ.
The Albany Times-Union reported that Marybeth, quote, "calmly responded to almost all of the questions, but she fought back tears when she testified about what she claimed was a police threat to unearth her children's bodies." The judge ultimately ruled that Marybeth's statements to police in her interrogation would be admissible at trial.
Okay.
Marybeth Tinning's murder trial opened in Schenectady County Court on June 22nd, 1987. The medical testimony was complex and included several doctors as
Nailed it.
included several doctors as expert witnesses who held different opinions on the deaths of the Tinning children. One doctor testified that he had examined Tammy Lynn as an infant and, in light of the tragic history of her siblings, advised them to install a crib monitor that would sound if the baby stopped breathing. Shelley Notek.
Oh, yeah. But they didn't. That's the other thing, is that they don't change their patterns or they don't change what they're doing at all.
No, they did not. Marybeth refused. She said no thank you to that.
Uh-huh.
The doctor, however, did not insist on the monitor because Tammy Lynn was in perfect health.
They all were, except for the one.
Mm-hmm. Except for the one, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Another doctor declared that Tammy Lynn did not die of SIDS and had clearly been smothered.
I mean, we don't know that.
No, the defense called in doctors who testified to genetic disorders as the cause of all the children's death, but didn't have any real evidence of that. It became a battle of the doctors, both sides calling like 6 pathologists. One doctor even said he'd like Marybeth to have more children so he could study them further to find out if it was, in fact, something genetic.
He wants her to have test babies.
Yes.
That's not, sir.
He said this on the stand.
God. Let's just do one more and see what happens. That'll give us the I'm going to sign a speedy trial waiver for 9 months. We're going to do one more and see how this goes.
I mean, she's in her mid-40s at this point.
Oh my God. What a fucking dipshit thing to say.
So Marybeth did not take the witness stand. In his closing argument, Marybeth's defense attorney said, quote, "Don't be led into the conclusion that there are inferences and innuendos that are proof that she may have killed Tammy Lynn. If she didn't cry at the right time, if she laughed at the wrong time, does that mean she is guilty of murder or that she's a human being with emotions?"
I mean, that's true.
It is true. The jury deliberated almost 20 hours over 3 days. There was some kind of initial confusion over the wording in the New York murder statute, but once that uncertainty was cleared up, they quickly reached a decision. On the afternoon of July 17th, 1987, Marybeth Tinning, now 44, was found guilty of murder in the second degree in the death of Tammy Lynn, showing, quote, "a depraved indifference to human life." Upon hearing the verdict, Marybeth covered her face with her hands and cried. Joe was basically fine. Quote, "I can't really complain that they didn't think about it. They did their job. I just have a different opinion on it."
Joe, God, whatever. My God,
This
guy is, what are we doing?
Marybeth's attorney told the press he would file an appeal immediately. He said it would be based on Marybeth's epic 36-page confession and that it should never have been admitted into evidence. Marybeth appeared for sentencing on October 2nd, 1987. She read from a prepared statement, quote, "I want you and the people in this courtroom to know that I am very sorry that Tammy Lynn is dead. There is not a day that goes by that I don't think of her. I miss her very much. I just want you to know that I played no part in the death of my daughter, Tammy Lynn. I will try to hold my head high and accept the punishment that society and the court requires for the crime I was convicted of. I did not commit this crime, but will serve the time in prison to the best of my ability. However, I will never stop fighting to prove my innocence. The Lord above and I know I am innocent. One day the whole world will know that I am innocent, and maybe then I can have my life back once again, or what is left of it." Marybeth Tinning was sentenced to 20 years to life. She was taken from the courtroom while people called her a baby killer. The DA's office had said they would prosecute her for the deaths of some of her other children, but that never happened. She was indicted in August 1989 for the murders of Nathan and Timothy, but the charges were dropped for lack of evidence. She did appeal, her attorney arguing the validity of her 36-page confession, but the appeal was denied. Later, in a book titled Unnatural Death, Confessions of a Forensic Pathologist, Dr. Michael Baden, that New York City doctor, he said of Jennifer, the first of Marybeth's children to die, quote, "Jennifer looks to be the victim of a coat hanger. Tinning had been trying to hasten her birth and only succeeded in introducing meningitis. The police theorized that she wanted to deliver the baby on Christmas Day, like Jesus. She thought her father, who had died while she was pregnant, would have been pleased."
I'm sorry. She was trying to pull Jennifer out with a coat hanger.
I think she was trying to induce labor, like pop her own water.
Oh my God. Okay.
Another book on the case claims that the author who there's another book on the case. The author spoke to maternity ward nurses who said that they knew, quote, "Marybeth tried to induce the birth of Jennifer so that the baby would be born on Christmas Day."
Oh my God.
Many speculate that once Marybeth experienced being the center of attention after the death of Jennifer, that she developed what some call the most extreme case of Munchausen by proxy that has ever been seen.
Wow.
This is the opinion of Dr. Baden based on his analysis of all the children's autopsies and his time investigating the case. Marybeth's first parole hearing was in March 2007. Her bid for release at that time was supported by one of the investigators that had taken her confession, telling the press, quote, "She is no danger to society at that age. What harm is she to somebody, and how much are you going to get from her by keeping her in?" She was also supported by the judge who sentenced her and wrote a letter recommending that she be released.
Because she can no longer have babies.
Probably.
Yeah.
Her parole was denied.
Jeez.
Her second parole hearing was in 2011, where she did admit to killing Tammy Lynn.
Okay.
But she didn't have a real reason for it. Marybeth had certificates of achievement from nonviolence and anger management programs and was then working for a chaplain. She also had letters of support from people she worked with in the prison, as well as from Georgetown Law School, some of them describing her as the most loving, most generous, caring person that they had ever met. She was working with AIDS patients in prison, and she said she would like to volunteer with AIDS patients if she were released. She also said she would live with her husband upon release. Joe visited her every month, but it was getting harder for him to continue to do so.
They stayed together and he... Whatever. Okay.
Her parole was again denied. Marybeth Tinning was eventually released at the age of 76 in August of 2018 after serving 31 years. Joe was present for her release. She was ordered to remain under parole supervision for the rest of her life, has a curfew, and is required to attend domestic violence counseling. And that is the story of Marybeth Tinning.
That was fucking wild. Is she still alive?
I don't see her. I did not see a death date in her Wikipedia entry, so maybe.
Oh my God.
She'd be in her 80s by now.
What a strange couple.
So weird.
So fucking weird. Why all the killing of children week after week with you?
With you? Just... Yeah, it's called like the most, something like the most severe case of Munchausen's by proxy that we know of. That's the kind of the armchair diagnosis of what's going on with Marybeth.
Sounds like it. Wow. That is, I have no words.
9.
That's insane to me. And that of 9, she was convicted of 1.
1.
Wow. Yeah, I have no words.
It's right.
Wow, sister.
There it is.
Thanks. Well, if she is still alive, I hope nobody's asking her to babysit. I'm serious.
Oh my God.
I mean,
so dark.
Fuck. I mean, I was totally serious.
I know you
had your kids, had your wife.
It's insane.
Obviously,
she's not well.
No, she's not well.
But neither is Joe.
No, Joe. Yeah. Do you think maybe he knew?
Do you think he knew?
I don't know. He kind of seems a little bit too dumb to know.
I think at one point he said, well, I had my suspicions, but your wife is basically like, the children are not my purview. That's women's work.
Okay, Joe.
Yeah,
but still. All right, I need to put on my readers.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Perfect.
What'd you say?
I said perfect. You look
Thank
great.
You. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I got a chaos for you.
Great.
I'm going to tell you about Larry Walters. Okay. He was born April 19th, 1949, and he grew up fascinated by flight. He served in the U.S. military during Vietnam, but was unable to become a pilot in the Air Force because of poor eyesight.
Oh,
I know.
bummer.
As an adult, he worked as a truck driver. And the idea of flying with balloons apparently went all the way back to his childhood. He once saw balloons in a surplus store and imagined what might happen if they lifted, like if they attached it to something, then it lifted him off the ground and he went flying that way.
Oh, like up.
Yes, this is up.
Mm-hmm.
By 1982, Larry had the resources and the determination to try the experiment that he had long fantasized about, attaching weather balloons to a lawn chair and floating away.
Great. That sounds so safe.
Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
On the morning of July 2nd, 1982, in Los Angeles, Larry Walters, who was 33 years old at the time and without any flight training, went for a 90-minute ride in the sky in a Sears Roebuck lawn chair carried by 42 helium-filled weather balloons.
Like one of those old school ones that's like the aluminum frame with like the crisscrossy.
That's exactly what it was. That's one of my pictures. Yep. Uh-huh.
Oh.
For his trip, he had a flashlight with extra batteries, a camera,
Okay.
a two-way radio, a hand compass, a map of California, a medical kit, a pocket knife, a backup pair of eyeglasses, 8 plastic water bottles, 2 liters of Coca-Cola, and a pellet gun to shoot some of his balloons when it was time to come down. And some beef jerky.
Where is he keeping all this
in
stuff?
like a sack next to him on the chair.
Just a satchel.
Yep. Off.
Just a satchel hanging from like one side precariously over the little piece that sticks up. Just
Yep. Basically.
Oh my God.
So Larry and a small ground crew completed filling the balloons and attaching them to his chair. His intention was to stay on the ground while helium tanks finished filling the balloons. That was until the cord that tied his chair to his Jeep broke and the chair started to rise.
Oh, was he in it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Witnesses and airline crews later reported seeing the small silhouette of a man in a chair rising above the coastline.
Oh
Can you imagine seeing that?
No. Wait, was this in Nevada?
LA.
LA.
Mhm.
Okay.
Larry found himself climbing much higher than he planned and soon was in controlled airspace.
Oh, danger. Danger. This is.
He reached 16,000 feet. At that altitude, he was well into controlled airspace used by commercial aircraft, making his presence there a danger to himself and others. Pilots of passing airliners spotted him. And
what?
Can you imagine being
No.
on a plane and going by a guy in a chair?
You're like coming into LAX. You like look out the window to check out the ground below, but like there's a guy waving at you from a lawn chair.
Exactly what's going on. From a lawn chair. Yes.
Did he have anything to strap himself into the chair?
No.
He was just sitting in it.
Just vibing. Yes.
No seatbelt. Nothing attaching him to this chair.
He's just in it. Why would you do that? Doesn't that sound scary?
It sounds frightening. Does he have a parachute?
No, I don't want to be 10 feet off the ground like that.
He's not strapped to the chair. He has no parachute of any kind.
No. He's sitting in it.
So
as
if one big gust of wind comes and cattywampusses that chair out to the side,
yep,
he is tumbling out.
Yep.
What are we doing? This man is so dumb.
I know. So the airplanes are going by him. They're seeing him in a lawn chair. The
Oh my
FAA
God.
and local flight centers are like on it, right? They're like, what the hell is going on? He ends up contacting somebody by radio with his little CB thing, who then relayed messages to the FAA. At one point, Larry acknowledged he was in federal airspace and that the launch had been unauthorized. Like, he admits to that.
Yeah, I did that.
And that he was in an airspace without establishing two-way communications and without an aircraft approved by the FAA. Yeah, like I don't think a lawn chair is FAA approved.
This guy is like one mistake away from winning the Darwin Awards that year. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. So while he was up there, Larry encountered rapidly dropping temperatures and thin air. As he floated, he reported being cold and without proper oxygen. And
wait, 16,000 feet? I think that's about the height of Everest, right?
That sounds right.
That's when people start like dying on the mountain.
And you're supposed to like acclimate before you do that.
Right. And a lot of them take oxygen with them now.
Yeah, Larry didn't have room for that on his chair.
No, he had jerky.
No. He had to decide oxygen or jerky.
Oxygen or jerky.
Do you think, okay, also, oxygen aside.
In case he gets a little peckish.
Are you, if you're, he must not be afraid or anxious, because how can you have an appetite when this is happening? Like, well, just going to bust out the jerky. What?
He has nothing to attach him to the floating device.
I know.
That is making me so uncomfortable.
It makes me uncomfortable. Yeah. Okay, so at that altitude, you risk hypoxia, which is what we're talking about when you pass out up there. But he appeared to remain coherent enough to communicate via his CD. So whoever he was talking to, is this group called REACT, which is an acronym for something, who was relaying messages back to the FAA. They said to him, what information do you wish to tell the airport at this time as to your location and your difficulty? And Larry goes, the difficulty is this was an unauthorized balloon launch, and I know I'm in federal airspace, and I'm sure my ground crew was alerted, but just call them and tell them I'm okay.
Oh my God. Ground crew.
Which is like a couple of buddies with their beers.
Yes. They're sitting in the other lawn chairs on the lawn.
Oh, I didn't know that was going to happen. After 45 minutes in the sky, Larry shot several balloons with his pellet gun, but then accidentally dropped his gun over a chair.
Over a chair. Of course he dropped
that
it.
That was his only descent plan.
But he still has his jerky.
That's right. Even though he did take his camera with him, he didn't take any photos. There was no time for that.
No time for photos.
He did start to descend slowly from the balloons that he was able to shoot until he got tangled in some power lines over Long Beach, which caused a total blackout in the city for 20 minutes.
What? What a fucking dick.
He didn't get hurt, though. He was just tangled in power lines.
Oh my God.
He was able to climb down from his chair safely.
What?
And was immediately detained by police.
Yeah.
He landed without any major physical injuries, reportedly shaken but alive, and was arrested for violating aviation regulations. Immediately after his chair flight, the FAA investigated and charged Larry with multiple violations. initial reports said that he faced several potential violations, including operating in controlled airspace without proper communications and possibly operating an aircraft without certifications.
Without certification. Can you get a Lawnchair certified?
I don't think so. I got my Sears warranty. Will that work? God, no. Can you get a Lawnchair certified? Can you imagine? Is this FAA approved? No. No, it's not. Oh, okay. Larry was initially fined $4,000. He appealed and the fine was reduced to $1,500. Some charges, such as operating a civil aircraft, were dropped or found inapplicable to his homemade balloon chair.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This event crystallized regulatory questions about what constitutes an aircraft. And how to enforce rules against wildly unconventional aircrafts.
Wildly unconventional.
Oh. So Larry went on to appear on national television, late night shows. He was profiled in magazines and newspapers and became kind of a folk hero for improvisational daredevils.
Like Sky King.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Journalists were drawn to the human story, a middle-aged man achieving his dream of flight by unconventional means.
Oh my God.
His flight also inspired a small cluster of balloon experiments and imitators. Others, fascinated by the idea of cheap, accessible flight, attempted similar feats. Most famously, Kent Couch's multi-hour, multi-hundred-mile cluster balloon flight years later. I'm not familiar with that, but I'm going to look into it. Kent Couch's. Larry enjoyed a period of fame after the flight. He did TV appearances, public talks, and briefly toured as a motivational speaker.
What? Stop it.
Yeah.
You too can have a midlife crisis.
And float in a chair.
What?
But his notoriety did not produce dollars in any way.
No.
Accounts indicate financial and emotional difficulty in his later years. He is reported to have struggled with the fallout from his stunt. And despite the fame, he did not, there was no success that he got from it.
Right.
He did get the nickname Lawnchair Larry.
So he has that going for him. Yeah.
Larry Walters died by suicide on October 6, 1993 in the Los Angeles National Forest. His death prompted reflections on the way brief fame can complicate life and on the deeper personal context behind daredevil acts.
Well, I mean, now you're going to take it down. Well, thanks for taking it down.
Sorry. A notch. You just told me about 9 babies that were killed.
I know, 9.
I gave you a guy that flew in
a
lawn chair. Give me a break.
You did. I was just thinking though, like I was half joking about the midlife crisis thing, but like that is such like a middle-aged white guy fucking thing to do, right? Like pull some stunt that he dreamed up when he was 7 because he can now. Like there's some stuntedness going on there. You know?
For sure. And also maybe just the idea of people who want to do death-defying stunts at all. It's like, what is going on?
Oh, sure. They want to like put their foot like right on the edge of the cliff and keep kind of putting their foot right on the edge of that cliff and looking over the cliff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Again, Larry's flight highlighted regulatory gaps in enforcement. At what point does a homemade experiment become an aircraft?
Right.
How should authorities respond to these aircrafts? Larry's findings and appeals showed existing laws were applicable in at least some areas, but the nature of the aircraft made some charges awkward. Since then, aviation authorities have continued to contend with new forms of low-tech and high-tech airborne devices, such as drones, cluster balloons, things like this. Larry's case is often cited in discussions of precedent and public safety. His Lawnchair is at the National Air and Space Museum, which is part of the Smithsonian Institution.
Stop it. What?
Yep. That's Lawnchair Larry.
Wow, sister. I've seen like little like headlines of that story in passing, but I didn't like dig into it.
Oh boy.
So thank you for doing that work
You're
for
welcome.
us.
Lawnchair Larry.
Oh, Larry. Rest in peace.
Yeah. I bet he's flying in his lawn chair.
I mean, he's got jerky. He's fine.
Totally fine. He doesn't need the pellet gun.
Yeah.
He's up there for good.
Yeah. Wow, sister. Okay, well, we did that twice.
Yeah, we did.
We did that twice this
We're
week.
basically podcasters.
It's almost like we know what we're doing. It's
Sort
weird.
of.
Sort of.
Chaos Kids, you need to know what you're doing. What you're doing is doing a typey review, please.
Please.
And thank you. Be like Nick the Mystic.
Be like Nick the Mystic. Typey a review. And then head on over to the patreon.com, yakety yak, don't talk back, crime, wine, and chaos. And join the club.
Yeah.
You could be a free member and see what's going on that's not behind the paywall, or you could be even radder and become a Chaos Kids Club member. You get a bonus episode every month. You get new episodes every week, a day early. And sometimes we have virtual wine night.
You know you want more of this.
You want more of this. I want more of this. That was so chaotic.
That was.
I love you, sister. Goodbye.
Bye. Crime, Wine, and Chaos is produced by 8th Direction Records. Artwork by Joshua M. Davis. Music by Jeremy Williams. If you would like to support the show, you can visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/crime, wine, and chaos. Cheers!